Rich here, Room 37 podcast with Anthony Marr. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to Sebastian and Frank from Corpus Delicti. So, welcome to them. And Tony's going to have some questions for them as well. Look forward to the next half hour or so. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Hi. Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for the invitation, Frank, Sebastian. I'm a big fan. Like your music, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So Tony, I'll start, I guess. So, guys, welcome. Obviously, I know about you. I know about your music. I was going to go right back to the beginning because you formed the band. You started playing music a long time ago, and I was going to ask you both who were your earliest musical influences.
Oh, okay. I can start with this one if Frank is okay. Earliest musical influences when I was a teenager was when I started to listen to alternative indie music. It was maybe with The Cure because in 1984, 1985, The Cure began to be bigger and bigger everywhere, especially in France. So that was for me a first steps in indie and alternative music. So I think the main important bands for me when I was a teenager was like The Cure, a little bit later Echo and the Bunnymen also. And then after that, I discovered Joy Division and the usual stuff like Bauhaus, using the Banshees. So, but I would say that the first step was with The Cure and then Echo and the Bunnymen.
So were they the first records that you bought?
No, not the first record I bought because the first record I bought, I think I was 3 or 4 years old because my parents bought them for me, but I always used to listen to music. I used to be a really big fan of music, but until until I was 12 or 13, I was only listening to what was going on the radio. So not really interesting music, really popular music, and not in the good sense in French. In France, popular music can be really interesting in the UK, but popular music in France is really not interesting at all. So yes, that was with The Cure, who became really famous in France. That was my first step in indie and alternative music, and from them I went to other bands. But I used to listen to music since I was really a little child.
Okay. And Frank, what about you? Frank, you there?
Okay.
We might have lost Frank, I guess.
We don't hear him.
No. Okay, we'll wait for Frank. Maybe Frank's got some technical stuff going on. We'll wait for him to come back. So what about now, Sebastian? Are those earliest influences still an influence on you, or has your taste changed?
I would say that my tastes have evaluated through the years, but I still come back to these bands. I still listen to The Cure, to Echo, and of course I listen to new music stuff. I'm really passionate. Music is my passion for me, so I have been still all through the years interested in music and in the new stuff going on. So now I have a son who is 20 years old, so he's the one who tells me, okay, oh Dad, you must listen to this and that, because we kind of have the same taste in music. But for example, one band from the last few years which was really important for me was HMLTD. I don't know if you know them. It's a band from London. I really fell in love with that band. I saw them live a few times, especially went to London 2 or 3 years ago to see them. And also I was in London 2 weeks ago to see Idols, because I really love their music. And
me too.
Yeah. So yes, I'm still all the influence. I think I think that all the influences you have when you're a teenager, you keep them all your life. It does not disappear. It's impossible. So I always come back to this, but still I'm still interested in new stuff, and the new stuff I'm listening to is most of the time really not so far from what I used to listen when I was a teenager.
I get it. So do you think since you first started recording, since you started listening to music and recording, as a working musician, do you think the music scene has changed since you first started?
Oh yeah, yes, of course, because it really has changed in many ways. Most of all due to the internet. But at the time in the 90s when we started, there was lots of fanzines and a kind of network with these fanzines that helped us a lot in making a music known all over Europe and even in the United States. So now it's faster and faster with internet. So yes, I think maybe the music scene hasn't changed that much, but the way to listen to it has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it's better or worse or just different?
It's both at the same time.
Different.
Yeah, it's different. It's cool for many reasons, because the most important one is what we see at our gigs. For 2 years now, there are many young people coming to our gigs, people under 25, people 15 years old, I don't know, and they know us through internet and streaming. So this is a really cool stuff, because this way of listening to music is helping to spread the music really fast, in a really fast way. So this is cool. The worst part of it is for musicians, for ourselves, because
there's no money.
Even if there's no money anymore, we have now like millions of streams, but okay, that won't be possible to make a living out of it. So it's big in the 90s. If you were selling like I don't know, 10,000 CDs, you are like the king of the world, and you could live with that for a few days. Now you have 2 million streams, and it's not possible to make a living out of it. So there is good and bad in the way it works now.
I think that's why so many bands came back, because there was no incoming anymore. Like, I don't know, even Susie and the Benches, she came back, but I think, they're not money incoming from royalties or anything. So they have to go and gig. So it's cool for the fans, because some of them, they were so young at the time, or even born. But but so now it's cool for them to, I mean, it's like me, I went to see Bauhaus. I never thought I could see Bauhaus, so it was nice. And many bands like this, Chameleons and all of them, so all back. I think also one of the reasons is because there's no royalties anymore, so they have to tour.
Yeah, I think you're right, Frank. And we were Anthony and I were chatting last week to Jamie Perrott, who is Peter Perrott's son from The Only Ones, and Jamie was telling us that when he was 12, he was offered a publishing deal. So he thought, oh, this is going to be really easy. But now I think he's nearly 30 now. He said it's totally different. There's no money. And even for him, he's making great music. He said it's really hard to get, it's hard to get a deal. It's hard to get publishing. It's hard to get royalties. So it's a much harder world for musicians, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
So the good thing about that is that what we are saying since 2 years now is we only reunited for pleasure, because when you are 20 years old, maybe we were dreaming of making a living out of it, and it's absolutely not the case now. So the good thing is that there is maybe less pressure now than that was in the 90s, because we really do that because for pleasure and meeting people everywhere, traveling. So this could be also the good part of it.
So so this is the question to both of you, Sebastian and Frank. Do you work differently now than you have done in the past as musicians? So if you think about when you started playing, when you started recording, do you work differently now?
I mean, I think not really. Of course, we use new technologies, and especially I've got the studio, so it's easy. But I think it's the same as before, because the best we realized after a few months when we were trying to create something. Everyone was working home, doing some demos on his own, and then to play to the guys, you know. But at the end, the things worked the best, and it was like we did at the time. So we took like a piece of the most important bits of what I did or what Seb did or what Chris did, and then we worked together rehearsing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the songs really they come out like this, really. I mean, someone bring an idea and then it's just a jam, basically. So sometimes you're lucky and you do a song in 5 minutes, and sometimes it takes months, but most of the time the one who takes months not the best.
So you think the real magic happens, or do you think there's a different connection when you get together in a room?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we felt exactly the same emotions when we did the first rehearsal of the reunion. It was so weird. We played really badly because we haven't the sound we had at the time. It's not the same. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's the first rehearsal, and but after 1 hour, we had this thing with this magic because also I think we. And we're not composing music as 90% of the other bands. I mean, I think sometimes the bass does the guitar part, the guitar does the bass part, or maybe we work really like really snake with Chris with the guitar and bass, and the drums are always tribal and following the vocals. So it's not the same way bands usually do to create, you know. So sometimes it's really important to be together because if Sebastian had a vocal idea, the drummer follows, or you know, it sells the magic, you know. It's
So do you think you've changed, again, a question for both of you? Do you think you've changed as people since you started playing? Are you different people now?
Hope more clever.
Yeah, you mean musically? Oh
no, I think generally. I mean, I think I worked with people recently. I mean, I formed a band about 6 months ago with people I first got a record deal with in 1991. And we used to argue all the time back then, but we've both completely changed and we play with other people, and we don't think we argue at all now. And it means we're way more creative. I think that thing about you have to have friction and argument is kind of bullshit. So I just wondered if when you bring material in and when you work together, are you different people now?
yes. I think I agree with what you're saying, because we used to maybe to argue a lot in the 90s also for many reasons, and maybe also the ego that you always have in the band. Things are different now because we have all grown up, and we know each other really well also. So this is one of the good part, and yes, we have changed I think we have changed in a good way. That means that's 2 years now since we have reunited. 2 or 3 years. There may have been some conflicts sometimes, or some points we were not we don't agree the one with, but it doesn't come to a big argument. So
no, we talk a lot. And I think it's the best thing to do, even in the creative mode. No one imposes things, you know. We're just talking. So I mean, if someone is really into his things, can explain. But you know, at the end, I mean, as Sebastian said, we're back because of the fans, you know. So we didn't think to do a new album, to be honest, or create new songs. But I mean, in some way, you don't think about it. But when you in a rehearsal room, you play. You know, it's obvious something happened at some point. And so the first step was to just enjoy every second of the tour, of the shows, of what of the feedbacks we had from the crowd. They were, as Sebastian said, really young or quite old, and sometimes parents with kids.
Yeah, I see that.
All fans. So I think that was the most important things. And then when you get this, it's really simple to fuck tip in 2 seconds, or as Robert Smith says, it's a fragile thing, and you have to turn your tongue 7 times in your mouth before to say something, you know. And I think we are option 2 now.
I like. I've never heard that saying before. That's a French saying. You
It's
have
a
to
French
turn
saying.
your
You
tongue
turn
seven
your
times.
tongue around in your mouth for 7 times before to say something.
I love that. I'm going to remember that. Okay. So what about so you've toured you were touring in Latin America. You're big in Latin America. You do great business there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes. That was also one of the main reasons we also went back together. We have many propositions for gigs in
It was like a
Latin
whole
America and especially Mexico. And we've never been there when we were touring in the 90s. We've never been to Latin America, and we went to the United States, but not Latin America. So yes, that's kind of crazy because when we played Mexico last year, the show was sold out, like 1,200 people. And we went back to Mexico, so in last November. And when we are in Mexico, we can't walk in. We are in a market, and like a market, like a little bit like Camden in London, maybe more alternative and less maybe Camden in the 70s. And
okay.
And our tour manager told us that before going there, she told us, okay, I'm going to call the security to let them know that we are there because some people are going to recognize you. And I told her, yeah, okay, call them. I was lucky. And when we went into the market, every 30 seconds, someone was stopping us for autographs or photos. That was crazy. And it's incredible for us to realize that so many kilometers so many miles from our hometown, people are listening to music, and especially in Mexico. The biggest shows were in Mexico, but in Bogota, for example, that the crowd was like 90% people under 25 years old, singing the lyrics, looking so enthusiastic and happy. That was kind of crazy. But this is thanks to the streaming and internet and the 3 albums we have done in the 90s. We had the chance that this album came like some of the albums. I think that teenagers, when they are looking for, especially, I don't know, maybe 80s goth music, and they are looking for bands to listen to, and when they Google this, they found us really quickly. So that made that many young people listening to us since thanks to streaming and that. And
so did that must have felt great, I guess. Yeah, how did that feel?
Oh yes, and incredible. Yes, more than great. I would say that really surprising also, and really touching, really moving, because we had some people who have told us many really moving things about our music and how our music helped them through their lives. So yes, that's kind of crazy.
Frank, what about you? How did you feel? That kind of success and recognition.
I feel happy and lucky and proud at the same time because it's not big. Of course, we're not the biggest band in the world, but it's as Sebastian said. I mean, we came back for the fans because of the fans, thanks to the fans. But once you're in front of them, some of them were taking your hands, crying, telling you saved my life. And I was nearly crying too because. When and not just one, few, many. So, I mean, when you reach that point and you realize you can help people this way, like we did with being fans when we were young. It's important for me. It's like if I reach my goal, I'm rich. I feel rich.
Yeah.
And
hey, Richard.
Yeah.
And
did you guys play Latin America when you were with the mission?
No, I didn't do. Oh no, I didn't do. I think Mexico City one time. Yeah, Mexico City one time. Other than that, no. But yeah, and fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a great crowd.
When you guys play you, Frank and Sebastian, when you guys played Bogota, did the height affect you?
Sorry, it was
Because
what?
Bogota is so high, you know, the
I
altitude.
was.
Did it affect you? I know a lot of bands that play there, and a lot of them have problems, you know, with the
No,
altitude.
no, that's funny because that was a little bit my concern with the voice, especially because it can affect the voice sometimes. But no, didn't feel any of this in Bogota, especially. No, never.
No, 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 no. It's weird because we, to be honest, as Sebastian said, we never thought about it. So we were like, we felt normal. Maybe his voice was a bit pitch.
And guys, you what the difference between the 90s and now? You said you put out 3 records in the 90s. A difficult era for goth rock or heavy metal or heavy rock because of the grunge movement, right? Um, how does it feel now that you have found new followers and younger crowds following you and going to your shows? Um, how is it different now besides the internet and besides all the promotions and all the streamings? Um, are you planning on putting out new music? Uh, I know Cleopatra put out some of your older catalog here in the States.
Yeah.
Are you guys planning on putting out new material?
Oh yes, we
Yeah,
have already.
absolutely.
We have released 2 singles since last year. We have released a new single. The first one was in November 2023 that is called Chaos. But it didn't came through Cleopatra. It came with our own label in France. And we have just released another new single 2 months ago called The Fairy Lie. It's on streaming and YouTube also. And yes, the reaction was really fantastic to these 2 songs. Especially we have the feedback now on Chaos because we have played it many times since 1 year and through the last gigs we did, and people were reacting to Chaos like Sarah Band or Patient or one of the other songs they like. So that was really incredible for us to have such feedback on new songs also, and that gave us the motivation to do more, of course, even if we had it in mind. So yes, we plan to next 2025. The plan is less gigs and more time to concentrate ourselves on new songs and
New
recording
songs, yeah.
the album. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of bands are releasing their music like you guys are doing by doing single by single instead of doing an EP. This is something new with technology as well. It's something that it was harder to do back in the 90s when you guys started.
Yeah.
Even
Can
you,
I
Richard,
interrupt?
it's working for you as well with Member, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just thought that the business has changed, and I think people are looking for fresh stuff more regularly. And there's the thing where musicians have worked out that algorithms keep turning if you keep releasing music.
Yeah.
So it's a way of keeping your audience engaged in a way. I think.
Yeah, because you can be
adapt to
lost
it.
quickly in this ocean of bands.
Yeah.
And I think in another way, for us it was quite important to come back with just one song, because I mean it was quite not difficult, but you know you've got some pressure to not be a copy of yourself, being true 30 years later, but keeping a signature of the band, you know, a kind of, I don't mean a sound because sounds evolve, but I mean kind of songwriting, you know. So we thought, I mean, when we did Chaos, it was obvious it was with these songs first, obvious, but after, you know, so we waited a little bit to get these songs, and we think, okay, this is 3 minutes in your face, big energy, sounds Corpus. I mean, people gonna recognize Corpus because of the songwriting, but at the same time there is a bit more something a bit more modern in the sound, which is normal. And but the most important thing was like being true and not a collage of what we were, because we're not the same person. We all have kids, 30 with all 50s. Music evolved. We went to, I mean, we didn't listen to goth music for 45 years. I mean, we went to listen to many different kind of music, like Porty said, or the trip hoppy things, because for me it was interesting. Because it was the the next step after the new wave was a trip hop in some ways, because it was dreamy, really experimental in some ways. So I don't, you know what I mean. So at the end, you can mix your your evolution in this thing, you know, and so we had to be true and not a copy of ourselves. I mean, you know, not a copycat. So and now when I mean, we realized chaos, we were aware that we could do what we wanted because it was there. And always keeping a signature. But I think the second single is quite different. It's like a 3 minutes ballad before a crazy end. And it's something we just say, okay, let's do that, you know. We weren't taken by a format or something. Felt more free to do what we want, because now we know we've got the Corpus signature back. I mean, in the genes, you know. So now we feel free to do something. And to finish, we're gonna do a new album. We're not gonna do a 14 songs album. I prefer 8 really good songs, 9 songs, rather than 70 minutes of, you know.
There's a thing, Frank. I've seen a few people talking recently in music and in literature as well, where somehow albums and novels have just become way too long.
Yeah.
And it's not that, you know, it's not that we need short stories. It's not that we need a pop single, but people are just putting out work that is just too long, and it seems self-indulgent, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's, I mean, it's at the beginning it was funny because you know, many albums there were, because of the vinyls, 40 minutes, which is, I think, is a good format. And then the CD came out, and then, oh, we've got 80 minutes possible, so
yeah,
we have to do that. So you know, the albums were like compilations, and I'm sure if you listen to, I don't know, a big band's album with 13 songs, you know, if you take off 4 songs, the album become a masterpiece. But because of 4 songs, not really good. You know, there's, you know what I mean. So I prefer to work on really something interesting from the beginning to the end, which and maybe also the vinyls back. So I know with my other band, with Carl, we composed the album thinking is a vinyl, so we knew exactly how was to be the first song and the last song, and the length, and the story to tell, you know. So because the CD is more like a folder.
Yeah. I get it totally. So, Tony, have you got another question? Yeah, I think you were going to talk about the touring stuff a little bit more.
Well, I guess, are you guys in the 90s? You guys toured the United States, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I worked for a record label, I know kind of how the contract worked. Do you find it difficult now? And I know that you said earlier that you're doing it for the fans, not really for the money, and I respect that very much. Do you find that now that you don't have the money that the record labels would provide for touring, that it's a little bit more difficult and more expensive to see shows as well for the fans. Because now everything, even in Europe, it's a flight date. You know, it's not like renting a bus anymore like in the 90s.
Yes, it's a really much more difficult to come to the United States to play than that was what was in the 90s. In the 90s, that was not really difficult at all. We just had to buy a really cheap visa to come, and that was all set up really quickly. We have, since 2 years, we have tried at least 2 times to put on a US tour, and we almost had a US tour scheduled last year for April last year. The thing is that when we started to make the counts with the price of visas, we had to pay from ourselves at least something like
1300s.
Yes, 8,000. 8,000.
Yeah, for all of us. Yeah, for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think
1300 each. Yeah.
I know that now because we quoted something last week. It's about 2,700 per musician.
Yeah, that's incredible. And
Yeah.
so we have to come. We know we will come because the biggest in the United States, it's where we have the biggest audience, even more than Mexico and France. And we know that people in some cities like New York or Los Angeles are really waiting for us to come, and we would love to come. We have to come, but we have to. If we would have come last year, it would have been a catastrophe financially for us. So that would not have been possible. So yeah, we will come for sure, but it's really much more difficult than in the 90s. It's incredible because if we wanted to be sure last year not to lose any money, we would have to put the tickets at a really incredible price. So that's not what we want to do also. So we have to find a good balance between it. And obviously, even if we have a label in Cleopatra in the United States, they can give us some advices and maybe some contacts to organize a tour, but they're not gonna organize it themselves. So we have to find some promoters there. We have some promoters because we have many propositions, but the biggest issue is the visa stuff.
Visas,
so,
yeah. I think for a band like yours, with your type of music and God, you have to make it work with festivals, right?
Yeah,
Right, like Sick New World they canceled, but they're one of the big festivals that have a lot of God bands in Las Vegas, and of course Cruel World, in Pasadena.
Yeah, but
and then make it work from there.
We heard like for Cruel Festival, they were going online, see how many views you had, and if you have unless 2 million views, they can't take you. So
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot of the record labels are doing that now. They're like, how many followers do you have?
Yeah.
How many streams do you have on
Spotify?
On Spotify, and then we look at okay, well you have the followers, but are they real followers? So we have to check. A lot of these bands have 70,000 followers, but they have 60,000 that are not real.
I know.
They're bots. And we rather work with bands that have 2,000 followers, but that people that really listen and buy the product, right? So
yeah, sure.
You need real. In the digital world, you need real people. You still need
and also I think we're better on live.
Absolutely.
I mean, an album is an album. An album is forever. It has to be nice. I mean, nice. You know what I mean? It was to be produced in some ways, and you have to enjoy it for the rest of your life. A live is one moment, and you give 100% all the time, like if it was the last. So, I mean, we've got a big energy on stage, you know, and so it's, you know, it's different. So it's a shame. I mean, you know, I'm sure they loved the album at the time, but when they saw us live recently, they had a different opinion afterwards, because, you know, the energy is different, is more powerful, even if the record are what they are. But I think we are a good band on stage with no machines, just all live. One guitar, one bass, one drum, one voice. You know.
What were your biggest influences? I know you mentioned Susie and the Banshees. You mentioned the Chameleons. But do you like Richard's band that he used to play with, The Mission
Yes,
UK?
of course.
Yeah, sure. So I've got few records.
I've got two. Yes, of course.
I've got I've got two records, and one of my favorite band. It's not really known, maybe now after. It's The Sound with Adrian Bolan.
Great band, yeah, great band.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. The Dead Guitars once supported the Mission on a European tour, and Carlo, the singer in Dead Guitars, had worked with members of the Sound.
Okay,
yeah, great band. I think they're one of those bands that kind of under the radar, but musicians all know them, right?
Exactly. I discovered them. I think someone played to me. I was 15. And I was like, you know, and I've got all their vinyls, you know, and so first I love the production in 82. This is for me the best time of how record sounds. From 80 to 82. 83 was already different, too digitalized. But 82, it was an in-between between analog and digital. And I think, so anyway, and this band, I mean, the songwriting is beautiful. Melodies, beautiful. Bass sounds crazy. Good sound, good guitars, melodies. Great band, really.
I was a huge fan of the Missions when I was a teenager, and I spent many hours listening to Wasteland.
We went to Nice. You played.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Yeah, I played with the Mission for nearly 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but have you played
in Nice?
France?
I played in Nice many times. I was saying to Sebastian when I first moved to London, but I'd only been there like a year and a half. I got asked to play bass for Eddie and the Hot Rods, and they were much older than me. I was like a baby, but we went on tour, and I learned so much about touring and traveling, playing live in that band. And I think my first gig was in Nice.
Oh, cool!
With the Hot Rods. It was in the city square. Actually, we did a festival.
Yeah,
in the city
in
square.
front of the seafront.
Oh, in front of the sea.
Yeah,
okay. It was amazing. And then I've been back many times with the Mission. Yeah, played there with the Mission. And I was saying to Sebastian earlier, I love Nice. We used to have days off there sometimes, and I've spent many a night on that beach. It's
it's beautiful to live, but musically is quite difficult. So
okay,
there is nothing basically, and it's nice. So we saw you in Théâtre de Verdure in Nice.
Right. Yeah. People, that happens a lot. People were like, "Oh yeah, we saw you at so and so," and yeah. Great city, love it there.
Okay. And any other bands? Do you consider yourself goth?
No, not really. Even in the 90s, I think we had the goth outfits, and that was a little bit of the craziness of our teenage years. But I think, for example, we don't consider also like some bands like Cure and Susie and the Banshees like goth music. It's not goth music. We are more like, I think, sometimes when we talk about this, we consider ourselves more like a rock band. There's a bass, a guitar, vocals, and drums. I think our songs are really melodic also, and And no, we don't really consider ourselves as goth, but it's not a problem for us to have this label because it's there are many bands in the gothic music scene that we love, so it's not a problem. But when people are asking me what kind of music are you doing, I don't say I play goth music, and I play rock music, like kind of rock melodic. I don't know, but it's not really goth. I won't say goth. No.
Yeah,
But it's not
funny.
a problem to be called goth bands. It's okay.
No,
I think post-punk is nice. It's that includes many styles like goth and maybe like rock, and I think maybe post-punk is a maybe nicest label to put on.
I was telling Richard when we were in the waiting room about my days at one of the biggest rock stations, alternative radio, not rock, and this is important, alternative music radio stations in America. And in the 90s, you know, when with Nirvana and all the grunge came out, yes, we had to switch to some of that music, but we kept playing the Sisters of Mercy. We kept playing the goth music, and also the new music from Nine Inch Nails and the beginning of Marilyn Manson and that heavier music, because the rock stations wouldn't play it. So the bands that were considered goth and the bands that were considered electronic, like Nine Inch Nails, got more plays because they were in the alternative section of the radio station, and not the classic rock or the rock that they had to keep playing Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. They wouldn't play goth music. So you know, the bands that were labeled goth got a little advantage in the 90s. You know.
we do, I mean, what means goth, you know? I mean, so
I think it's a way of dressing and a way of living, and
so
I celebrate it.
We were dressed like that at the time. It was a competition with the crowd. So, but
I know with the clothes, Frank. I remember there was a time. I remember being on tour with a Mission where both Wayne and I in the tour bus found that we were coincidentally wearing green woolly cardigans. And we were like, you know, we're the least goth people you could imagine.
Yeah, no, I know. You know, it's yeah, I don't know about your music. Yeah, we are a rock band. I always saying, like, even if it's totally different, on stage for me we are. I've got the sensation to be like the Stooges, you know, like really fucking big energy with the sound, with the chorus on the guitar, you know. But the energy is this one. Song's different, but and it's fun, you know. I think there is someone at the WGT in Treffen. The only person told, yeah, they shouldn't be here. Maybe because we were smiling on stage.
Oh, that's a crime.
You know, we were having so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's like every shows, you know, every show we're trying to give 100%, smile, makes people smile and enjoy, dance, have a great time. Life
that
is
was
so
the same
difficult
in the
sometimes.
90s. In the 90s, I was on stage to have fun and to try to give a nice moment to people. So yes, we are. I think we always went on stage to have fun. That hasn't changed since the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the 90s there was this competition to be. You were a new band, you know, so it was important to be better than the other one. But today is different, so it's 100% fun.
So I've just got a couple of questions. I think Tony might have a few after. I've just got a couple of questions left that I wanted to ask you both, and it's two questions. So the first one is, what has been your biggest mistake in life? And the second one is, what has been your best decision in life? So Frank, you're on my screen, so I'll ask you first.
Yeah, sorry, can you repeat the first one?
What has been your biggest mistake in life?
Oof.
Mistake you mean bad decision or mistakes?
A bad decision, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I think maybe a wrong set list.
Okay. Okay. And
No,
your
I don't
best.
know, but I mean, the on live, you mean
No, I
stage?
don't. I mean in
In
life
life.
generally.
In life, in
Yeah, yeah,
life.
yeah.
Oh
It can be
man,
anything.
it's private. I can tell my baddest one.
Okay. And what's
It's
been your
funny. Okay,
best? What's been
I
your
The
can give
best
best
you.
one?
decision?
No. Uh, the best decision is to never stop to make music, never stop to dream, never stop to enjoy. Yeah, that was my best decision.
Sebastian, what's been your biggest or your worst decision or biggest mistake?
Oh, it's funny because my worst decision, I'm going to tell you the first one I have in mind, but people
To
are
join the band.
no, no, people are going to say, "Oh my God, it's not." If it's his only problem in life, is okay. No, when you ask the question, the first thing that came to my mind is when I was like 13 years old. I took some cream in my bathroom. I stole some cream from my sister, and that was a cream I didn't really know that gave you suntan, like an orange face. And I did this because I wanted to see a girl the day after, and I didn't know what would have been the result on my face. And when I woke up in the morning before going to high school, I was like Trump. I had the orange face, and that was a really, really, really bad decision I made in my life. But it's not the
I love that you still have that on your mind. And what do you think has been your best decision in your life?
Okay. I like the first one. I'm going to say what comes to my mind at first. It's not something that has a link to the music. I used to work for 20 years in a record shop. Fnac is a big record shop in France. It's not really an indie record shop, so it became more and more difficult to find a pleasure in my work because I stood like 18 years in that shop. So I decided after that to go back to school and to study to become a teacher. And I've succeeded my exams. And now I'm a teacher for 10 years. So, and I really enjoy myself in my job and my teaching job and making music also. So I think that, quitting my first job and going back to school when I was like nearly 40 and passing exams, what a good decision.
I love that. That's a great answer. I did. Yeah. Funnily enough, while I was on tour, I decided to go back and study at university online to do a psychology degree, and that was one of the best things I ever. It completely changed me. It was one of the best things I ever did, and I was quite embarrassed at first, but I found myself on tour. I'm not going to say who with, but I found myself on tour and I was kind of hiding my books because I thought this isn't very rock and roll, but somebody caught me early one day studying and he was like, I'm doing the same thing. He said, I'm doing a theology degree. I was like, I feel normal now,
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great. Hey, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you both and chatting to you. I've really, really, really enjoyed it. Tony, you've probably got something you wanna chip in with?
Yeah, like usually we ask at the end our podcast about three bands. I'm just gonna pick three bands and I just want to hear your thoughts. I can start with you, Frank. Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode.
Yes. What are your thoughts?
Not my favorite at all.
You don't like them?
I liked, but the problem is I don't like what they did. Also, about Ticketmaster and stuff. You know this story.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I don't want to talk about them.
Right. Okay.
I liked. Okay, Music for the Macy's. Their masterpiece for me.
Right. Yes. Likewise. What about the Smiths?
You should have asked me.
Okay, Sebastian,
You
it's
have
okay.
lost him. No, I have the Smith tattooed on my skin, so you should have asked this to me, not Frank.
No,
I've got
you're
the rest.
next.
The only thing I've got from the Smiths is this.
Okay. Yeah, that's Robert. That was my next question. Obviously, you're a fan of The Cure. Do you like the new album?
Yeah. Yeah, I really love it. I appreciate it more after I saw the Troxy live.
Were you there at the show? Or you saw
No.
it?
We were on tour, but I watched the live after. Yeah, I think all the bass lines of the old songs are really absolutely beautiful, all of them. There were some songs I took a bit time to go in, but then even the one I didn't like stayed in my mind for 3 days, so I said it's not possible. So the more I listen to it, the more I like it, to be honest. The vocals beautiful, bass line's beautiful. I can't tell too much about I mean, I would like to have more guitars in my face. But I like the composition. Yeah, I like the songs, and it's quite short, 8 songs. 8 long songs. And
Yeah, I have to give thanks to Polydor because they chose Post Punk TV as streaming it live. They were sending us like every 5 minutes. They would send us a like 20-second video and a promotional video 2 hours prior to the show. So that was an exclusive, and we're
Cool.
so proud of that.
yeah.
And what about you, Sebastian? What are let's see. I have to ask you about other bands that we play. What Duran Duran? I'm a
Oh.
fan. I don't know. I'm a
You're
fan.
a
Yeah, I
fan.
like them.
Like you were saying, you know, I remember starting listening to music from my sister's tapes, and it was The Cure, The Cult, and The Smiths. So, and those are and Duran Duran, they were big. I grew up in Italy, and they were big. You buy magazines and the posters, and my sister would have Duran Duran over, and then I started listening to their first album, which I think it's more on the heavier side, and I like Duran Duran. So I don't know what you think about them.
Okay, so yeah, Duran Duran is like a kind of bands like I used to listen to pre The Cure when I was like 10 or 11. At the same time, of course, Duran Duran were huge in France. Also, I was more a big fan of Aha, and
Yeah.
The Sun Always Shines on TV has been a song that made a big impression on me, and still when I'm listening to it. And for Duran Duran, I've never been a big fan, but when I was 11 and when I saw the Reflex video clip, and when the wave was coming down from the screen, I was so impressed. So, and it's funny because I've seen it like a few years ago on YouTube, and it's so badly done when the wave is coming down on the screen. So, but when I was 11, I was quite impressed. But so if you talk to me about Duran Duran, that's the first image I have. But I think I've never listened to a full album or something like that.
But the bass lines from John Taylor are amazing.
Oh yeah.
Music aside, I think he's an incredible bass player.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Richard, what are your thoughts on?
I agree.
Yeah, he's a great bass player, and I think you can tell he said this, but you can really hear it in his playing. You can hear Roxy music all over it.
Yeah,
and I think I was a big rock, and still am a big Roxy music fan. You can hear can hear that all over his playing, and that's a great thing to base your playing on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love Japan as well.
Yeah.
Japan. Yeah. Even Frankie Goes to Hollywood, I'm a big fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, that bass line, the famous bass line is, of course, it was Norman Watt-Roy, wasn't it? Ian Dury and the Blockheads, but one of my favorite bass players again. Brilliant guy.
Yeah, same. Sorry, interrupt.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. It's been an honor, and your guys are welcome anytime. We hope to see you live one of these days, either in Europe or in America.
Thank you so much.
Anything else that you guys want to add? Where can we find you? Your website. We'll put all your links on our website as well.
Cool.
But if you want to share them with us now,
Sure.
so,
Yeah, nothing special. Just tell maybe to people in United States that we don't forget them, and that we trying hard to build a tour to come to see them, because sometimes we felt some despair in the comments, and sometimes people in the United States did not really understand why we were coming to Mexico again and not to Los Angeles, because it was really close to. So we had to explain every time. So, but we don't forget them, and we for sure we will come to the United States for a tour, hopefully with a new album.
I wish I would have known. I would have put you in the back of my truck, and I would have sneaked you in for one special show, and then took you back to Mexico. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Plan B.
No. We'll wait for your visas, and I'm sure that you guys we're waiting for your new music next year, and hope to see you. I go a lot to Europe, so hopefully, if you guys are playing in Europe, I'll come see you guys for sure.
Thank you. Cool. Hope to see you.
Thank you for.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
It was a real pleasure. It was a real pleasure, and thanks for having us. It was a great time, really.
And you both of your English is amazing as well. Thank you so much for helping us that way.
Thanks. My other band, Curl, is based in Portsmouth, and the drummer is the ex-Cranes drummer.
Okay.
So, well, maybe we should share our email.
For sure.
So yeah. So thanks very much. It was a real pleasure to have met you.
You too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.